Tropical Storm Mulan, a significant rainmaker for southern China. Our seventh tropical storm of the Pacific typhoon season has just about scraped through to tropical storm status. An extremely large tropical cyclone though, Mulan, currently at 19.3 north, 111.3 east, which puts it just off Hainan. As of 10 AM CST this morning, it currently has winds of 40 miles per hour and a pressure of 996 millibars, moving northwest at 18 miles per hour. Its movement is expected to turn more westerly as it moves through Hainan and possibly just north of there into the Gulf of Tonkin, and then eventually a landfall in far western China. Here it is right now as a tropical storm with a substantial wind field. We've not been able to display it this time around, but trust me, it's a very large wind field on the northeastern side particularly, which extends possibly even as far as Hong Kong. Currently 59 kilometers from Wenchang on Hainan, 139 from Haikou, 239 from Zhanjiang, 404 from Kinzhou, and 512 from Haiphong in Vietnam. Obviously this storm will be producing gale force winds, but the main threat really, a much more significant threat I would imagine, will be the rainfall, which will not necessarily be the highest rainfall we've ever seen, but will be extremely widespread. And we're concerned about flash flooding over a very large area of southern China and northern Vietnam, with high rain rates leading to flash flooding in susceptible areas. General flooding threats, of course, will also be a factor in the next few days as the storm and its remnants trek through towards the inland areas of China eventually and northern Vietnam. So flooding will be probably the main concern. Here it is right now with that projected wind field first of all, and then off it goes. It doesn't have a very long existence, and by the end of the week it will be dissipated, probably over northern Vietnam. And by the weekend it will be completely off the charts and there'll be nothing left of it. So it will be producing a lot of rainfall in a short amount of time. We expect that it's going to be in the region of around 400 millimeters for some parts of coastal China. Maximum sustained winds only 40 miles per hour right now, JMA slightly higher at 45 miles per hour. The JTWC don't yet recognize this as a tropical cyclone. The ATCF system going with 30 miles per hour system right now, with a high chance of development, which is interesting. Here's another look at what some of the models, or the path of models, this is what we call really a spaghetti model chart, showing all of the potential areas that the model suggests that it could track through. It's a pretty tight-knit forecast there, although quite a few of those suggesting a little bit of a southerly dip towards the end of that run. Well, this is the GFS showing just how the storm completely disappears on the wind charts. At least we'll be able to see a little bit more of that story on the water vapor, but first of all the wind. Green areas there depicting tropical storm force winds. We'll get to watch it again. Here it is. So a few green spots here and there, gale force winds coming and going, possibly a second wind where it will intensify a little bit further in the Gulf of Tonkin before making landfall very close to the China-Vietnam border by the looks of things, and then moving on inland and losing its tropical storm force winds extremely quickly. Here's the water vapor expectations. This is pretty much what you would expect to see on satellite imagery on the water vapor, and you can see there that it does hang around, or at least its effects hang around for quite a while as it moves inland. You completely lose trace of the center of the storm, but you see how long afterwards that moisture plume continues, and that's probably going to contribute to a large amount of that rainfall that we're looking at over the next few days. We'll be able to see the progress and process of that rainfall throughout the week as well on our next chart. Here it is. You can see how the rain chart builds through here. This is over a week, So first of all you get some oranges, that's around 5 inches of rain, then you get some of the reds, that's around 10 inches for significant chunks of the coast of China. Further east as well as west, east of Hong Kong there, you can see quite a bit there, getting above the 10-inch mark, that's 250 millimeters, and some pink areas there suggesting up to 17, maybe 18 inches of rain, and that is around 400 millimeters as I mentioned earlier. So some isolated locations along the coastline. And then you look much further inland, you can see that those high rain rates are still there as well, quite a way inland. Hanoi, for instance, in Vietnam, probably getting towards 5 inches. Looking at sea surface temperatures, that's not really going to be an issue ahead of this storm. Of course, it's only got a short life ahead of it. Currently 28, maybe pushing 29 degrees Celsius, and it'll be warmer still in the Gulf of Tonkin there, pushing 30 degrees Celsius for a little time before the storm makes its final landfall. So very interesting to see, and I was quite surprised that we didn't expect more than one landfall initially, and now it does look like we're going to get at least 2. Let's take a look at some of the satellite imagery of the storm right now then. Here's the latest rapid scan visible straight from the Himawari 8 satellite, and you can see as daylight has reached that area how it's been looking in terms of that cloud cover, wrapping round that center of the storm, which might be quite hard to discern on that particular imagery. But let's take a look at some other variations. Here's the RAM imagery, and you can see what's occurred here in the last few hours. Looking at those cloud tops, you can see we've got some yellows there, and they're quite far away from the center of the storm when you look at some of them. Those are the minus 80-degree cloud tops, and they've waned a little bit in the last few hours there by the looks of things as we've gotten into daylight, but still we're looking at anywhere underneath those greens and reds and of course yellows. You'll be looking at possibly some very high rain rates. Moving on to the next item, this is some visible from the last few hours. There it is, one or two little glitches in the system, but it's quite hard to discern where exactly the center is. We still believe it's very close to the island of Hainan, but if you look there you could possibly get a little bit confused and think that the center is much further towards the northwest. It's possibly a rather fluid situation, and you could even see a center relocation. It's not beyond the pale of possibility, but I don't think we will see one. I'm pretty sure, confident that the center is just along the eastern coast of Hainan right now. You can see it once again here with those convective tops blowing just on the southern side of it as we enter those visible scenes. And here's another view from a wider perspective, from the Philippine perspective you could say, and indeed some rainfall occurring even along the western coast of Luzon there with some convective tops not very far away. Just really shows off the size of this storm when you look at it there. I mean, you saw the JMA forecast code and how large it had, the 30-knot wind field, extremely large. And moving on to some more visible imagery, this is a really wide shot of pretty much the whole Western Pacific, and you can make out the other area of interest near Iwo Jima, and that will be headed towards the north. That's got a little bit of convection going by it as well. Here's another shot which focuses a little bit more on the South China Sea region, and once again you can see just how broad that tropical cyclone is. I think this imagery does show, though, a little bit more how concentrated the actual center is, maybe just a little bit, and it does look as though it is just off the very eastern tip of Hainan. Here's some more different imagery as well. All of those orange colors there represent fairly dry air masses, and then you've got all the moisture going on down there south of Taiwan, south of Hong Kong, where all of that moist weather, of course, to do with the tropical cyclone is going on. And here's one more perspective showing the infrared once again and those cloud tops. Once again, pretty decent, extremely disorganized though, but I think quite worthy of tropical storm status, and could be a widespread and hopefully not too severe, but definitely a widespread flooding concern here for the coasts of China and northern Vietnam.